If you absolutely had to choose, which one of these scenarios would you prefer? Fighting one-on-one against a regular opponent with blades and brawn, maybe a little sighted telekinesis thrown in, or fighting one-on-one against Bumblebee from Transformers with only a frying pan? In this video, we're going to jump in and have a look at one of the most thrilling virtual reality fighting games on the market, Blade Sorcery. We'll be jumping in to look at the game in its current state and just how much of a difference mods can make to the experience, and why it might be a great time to start using them.
There's a working scope.
Blade Sorcery in its current early access state has a pretty simple premise. You choose a location to travel to, you equip some weapons and armor, and then you pick from a range of scenarios in which waves of enemies will come and try and take you out. Sounds pretty normal for a game called Blade Sorcery, but where things really go off the rails is when you start to engage in the fight. There is no touching gloves. The NPC comes out stalking you, locked onto you with their cold, dead stare. It's weirdly creepy. I think this might be because there is no training on how you need to use the weapons, but rather the game throws you into the experience hoping you understand which end of your sword is the pointy end.
Stay down.
No. You want to stay down. I don't want to kill you.
Stop.
You might go into the fight with an expectation of being able to parry blows or block attacks, or do cool weapon tricks that make you feel like a badass gladiator. But realistically, it's a bit awkward at first. You'll swing a sword or a mace and notice that the weapon seemingly bounces off the enemy because you aren't compensating for the weapon's weight, or you are freaking out and swinging too fast for your senses to pick up. Enemies will step in closer or slash at you repeatedly. Panic will set in and you might continue to thrash about hoping to knock down some enemies. But if you're like me, you end up punching your wall or desk or ceiling fan. However, when you finally manage to take down the enemy, it's a bit confronting. The combat is visceral. Weapons can lodge themselves into enemies. Enemies buckle from massive blows. You can grab onto the heads or limbs of enemies and ragdoll them about. And when they die, they will let out a cry, go limp, and their eyes will somehow go more blank. Basically, it makes you feel like a serial killer. As you get a hold of the movement and combat, the game can transform from using your equipment and abilities to survive waves, to using your equipment and abilities to experiment against waves. You can slow time to take advantage of holes in an enemy's defense. You can sweep legs to make enemies fall over and then finish them off quickly. You can use telekinesis to turn nearby objects into deadly weapons. In a way, it is this experimentation where the game really shines. Did you know you can pull off parts from enemies using telekinesis? I didn't. But through experimentation...
What?
I found out.
Got your friend's legs?
So you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds fine. It's a game about blades and sorcery. How crazy could the modding scene be? Well... Oh, hello.
Nano machines, son. Why won't you die?
The vast array of mods for this game is insane. The community behind the mods have really gone all out because there are some packs of stuff here that really take the experience to a whole other level. The best way I think of breaking this down is to categorize the types of mods so that we can talk about how each changes the experience of stepping into the arena. Weapons. This is probably the most expansive category of mod and one that affects the game the greatest. The amount of weapons that modders have introduced to the game is bordering on excessive.
Wow.
From noticeable weapons from games like Elden Ring to weapons from the Marvel movies.
We're outside now. Mjolnir, you're going to carry us up. See those birds, alright? Ready? Here we go. It wasn't like them.
If it is a well-known franchise in pop culture, chances are someone may have gone, I wonder what it'd be like to fight with this in Blade Sorcery.
Boomstick.
These weapons simultaneously allow you to experiment with your attacks and feel terrible for NPCs who are coming at you with their
It seems a
default
bit
tiny
powerful.
clubs. Things get just a tad unfair though when you start using guns. Like, really unfair.
At a certain point, it just seems unfair to have these in the game.
It's still pretty fun though. Most of the weapons that I've experimented with are pretty standard in terms of operation. There is an obvious way it's meant to be used. A pointy or blunt side for hitting, and that's that. However, there have been a few weapons which have had extra modes or some added enhancements which have blown my mind. This is especially true with the lightsabers. Magic. Magic mods are probably responsible for the majority of my games not loading. And admittedly, one of the mod categories I got to play around with the least. When it works, the custom magic is pretty cool though. The initial options of lightning, fire, and telekinesis feel overpowered in their vanilla form. But through mods, you suddenly have the ability to freeze time.
Batter up.
Go Super Saiyan. Throw icicles. Or even throw meteors at your enemy. For these mods, more so than the other categories, you'll want to watch the instructional videos before using them, because some of the magic is quite intricate in the steps required to pull it off. For example, going Super Saiyan requires you to do very specific actions with your controllers. Trying to work that out without the instructions
Like this.
is
Goku.
bordering on impossible.
Trigger.
But once you pull it off, it's pretty good.
Oh! Hello! Oh! What? Is this the power of Goku?
Avatars. Avatar mods enable you to live out your fantasies of having a gladiatorial fight with Garfield, or maybe dress up as Barry B. Benson.
Like murder!
The mods are largely memey, but for me personally, that is completely okay. The avatars, regardless of size or appearance, still abide by the same ragdoll reactions of getting hit. So whether you're bonking a youngling or a transformer, they'll crumble to the ground in a weird slapstick mess.
Stupid idiot.
I think some of the avatars have increased health pools, as Gordon Ramsay went down quite quickly.
And the hat's a real jerk. What the f? Gordon Ramsay's straight up dead.
Whereas Bumblebee just wouldn't die, which I guess makes sense. Avatar skins can also be equipped to your character, but your original character height remains the same. So if you equip yourself with Yoda, for example, and stand next to a regular Yoda, you look like Yoda's dad. One thing that is very tempting to do with the avatars that you need to be careful of is spawning too many, as performance really dips. But the amount of chaos you can cause in your starter house by just continuously spawning avatars
Straight up
is
terrifying.
hilarious.
Okay, sorry everybody. Get out of the way, Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, sorry, I gotta going over here.
Maps. While the default maps on offer are fantastic, modders have added an array of maps to spice things up. Some are quite atmospheric and really feel like they fit in with the core feeling of the game. Others are SpongeBob maps. Don't get me wrong though, I definitely believe there is a time and place for death matches outside the Krusty Krab, and I greatly appreciate that this option is available. I'd like to give a special mention to the Outer Rim mod, which has a great selection of maps for Star Wars fans. Violence. I have to mention violence as its own category because it definitely is a common mod type that continually appears. While the base game is violent and visceral, there are some mods out there that push that experience up a few notches. Feeling like your weapons should be drawing more blood? Too easy. Sad that your blows don't deform your opponent into brittle clumps?
I think I broke your spine.
No worries. There are mods which push the violence factor way up, almost to Mortal Kombat levels.
Whoa! I think that's supposed to happen.
The base game makes you feel like a demigod facing off against meat sacks, but hey, now you can pull out an opponent's heart and eat it in front of their friends. Just because it's an option. While games like Skyrim VR have mods that greatly change some fundamentals within the game mechanics, Blade Sorcery's mods feel more like cherries on top of the gladiatorial sundae. These mods aren't necessary, but they are a hell of a lot of fun when you're looking to change up the usual sandbox duels. As the game races towards its next major release, I look forward to seeing how it can handle mods in the future. There is currently a massive amount of incompatible mods on Nexus mods due to past major releases, and finding ones that work from several months ago is sometimes a great deal of trial and error.
Uh-oh. I'm so scared. No, we crashed the game.
I would absolutely love it if there could be a line drawn in the sand where all mods moving forward are supported, but I'm guessing until Blade & Sorcery leaves early access, this is unfeasible. Until then, I'll continue to keep an eye out for the latest crazy mods popping up, because it's all just so much damn fun.